The air was filled with excitement as the rehearsal dinner for my daughter Emma's wedding started. I was so proud watching her stand next to her fiancé Jason, enjoying the good wishes from everyone. I had no idea that the happy mood would soon be ruined by someone I had tried so hard to accept as my own. "May I have everyone's attention, please?" Emma suddenly called out, making the room go quiet. My husband Walter and I looked at each other, confused, as she held up her glass. "I need to talk about something important," she announced, staring coldly at me. "Helen, you call yourself my stepmom, but really you're just an unwelcome stranger in our lives." The room filled with gasps as Walter turned pale. It felt like a punch in the stomach, her harsh words knocking the breath out of me. "Emma, what do you mean by this?" Walter asked, his voice shaking. "Don't be shocked, Dad," she snapped. "You know she's been trying to push her way into our family from the start. I'm done acting like she's my mom. She's not, and she never will be." Her mean words cut through me. I looked for any sign of the kind girl I knew in her face, but saw only dislike and anger. "Emma, please, not here," I begged, my voice breaking. "Why not?" she retorted. "It's my day, and I'll say what I want." Walter clenched his fists, trying to stay calm. "Enough," he said firmly. "We're leaving." Emma just shrugged, smirking as she turned away from us. We had to walk out past all the shocked guests, their stares and whispers making me feel judged as we left. I must have done something to make my stepdaughter hate me so much. The tears I had been holding back finally fell, and I knew then that thing would never be the same. In the car, Walter was very tense, gripping the steering wheel tightly, his face showing both anger and pain. "I don't know what's gotten into her, Helen," he said, his voice tight. "But I promise I won't let her treat you this way." I just nodded, too upset to talk, as we drove away from what was supposed to be a happy event. I kept wondering what had changed the sweet, loving girl I knew, and what difficult times might be ahead for us after her hurtful outburst. Maybe Emma began to dislike me when I married her father and became her stepmother, or perhaps it started even before that, influenced by her mother, Julie. Julie had once told her, as she gently touched her hair, "No one can ever replace your real mother." Those words had left a bad feeling, but I tried to ignore it, hoping to create a warm relationship with Emma. "I'm not trying to replace anyone," I had assured her softly. "I just want us to be friends." She nodded, but her empty look showed no warmth. It was like there was already a wall between us, built stronger by her mother's mean comments. At first, Emma was polite, though a bit cold. But as time went on, her true feelings started to show. "Why are you always trying to butt into my life?" she snapped one day when I just asked about her weekend plans. Walter gave her a stern look. "Emma, don't talk to your mother like that." "She's not my mother," Emma yelled back, anger twisting her face. She left the room quickly, leaving me stunned by her harsh words. Walter just shook his head, looking disappointed and resigned. From then on, Emma made it clear she didn't like me. She would roll her eyes when I came into a room and make mean comments quietly. If I tried to help or ask something, she would snap back as if she couldn't stand me being around. "You're not fooling anyone with your fake concern," she sneered one day. Her dislike for me was obvious, and it hurt. I asked if she needed a ride to her friend's house. "Emma, that's enough," Walter warned, losing his patience, but she didn't listen. It became clear that her mom, Julie, was fueling Emma's growing dislike for me. Whenever we met, Julie's fake smile hardly hid her joy in seeing our troubled relationship. "I don't know what you've done to make my daughter dislike you," she would say with a slight grin, "but you'll just have to deal with the consequences." And deal with them I did. Emma's hostility grew like an untreated wound, hurting our family life more every day. I had no idea her coldness was just the start of even worse behavior that seemed impossible to stop. After she quit college, with no clear goals, she became even meaner, using her complaints to try to get money from us. "Give me $10,000, or I'll tell everyone how awful you are as a stepmom," she threatened one day in the kitchen. I was shocked. Emma, why are you saying this? I've always tried to be nice to you. Save it, she snapped. Just give me the money, and I'll leave you alone for a bit. I felt desperate. I don't have that kind of money, I told her. Her eyes narrowed. Then find it, unless you want everyone to know your secrets. From then on, it was a constant pattern. Emma demanded more and more money, and her threats got worse if I said no. Walter was stuck in the middle, trying to please both of us while figuring out why his daughter had changed so much. Please, just give her what she wants, he pleaded one night after yet another big fight. I can't take all this fighting, but I knew that giving in would only make her more demanding, so I stood firm, even as Emma became more cunning. You think you're so great with your job at the school, she mocked. Just wait until everyone knows the truth about you. Her veiled threat really scared me. I could only imagine the kind of hurtful lies she could tell, which would affect my colleagues and the students I was committed to helping. Through all of this, Julie was always there, her mean smile supporting her daughter's terrible actions. You reap what you sow, Helen, she sneered during one of her frequent unwanted visits. Maybe if you were a better stepmom, Emma wouldn't be like this. Her words hurt deeply, stirring up a storm of emotions inside me: anger, pain, and betrayal. But even as I felt overwhelmed, a small spark of determination started to grow in me. I couldn't just let things happen to me anymore. If Emma wanted a fight, then I was ready to stand up to her and show everyone the kind of person she really was. And if Julie thought she could keep causing trouble from behind the scenes, she was mistaken. It was time to stop being nice. From then on, I was determined to do whatever it took to protect my family, even if it meant taking drastic steps I never thought I would. As Emma's wedding day got closer, her demands and disrespect became worse. It seemed like she enjoyed making my life difficult, pushing me to my limits. One evening, she walked right into the living room and said, "I need another $8,000 for my dress alterations," without even saying hello. Walter gave me a look, hoping I would give in, but I had enough. No, Emma, enough is enough. She looked surprised and said mockingly, "Oh, and what are you going to do about it, Helen? Go cry to Daddy like you always do." My fists clenched at my sides, anger rushing through me. You ungrateful child, everything your father and I have done, we did for you, and this is how you repay us. Emma laughed loudly, the sound as annoying as nails on a chalkboard. Oh, please, don't act so righteous. We both know you're just a pathetic, insecure woman trying to buy your way into our family. That hurt more than I wanted to admit, but before I could reply, she hit me with another harsh comment. Do you think the school wants a washed-up loser like you around their students? Wait until they hear about your little drinking problem. My heart sank as I realized how low she was willing to go. She planned to ruin my career and reputation with her lies. Emma, that's enough, Walter shouted, his face red with anger, but she just smirked, enjoying the chaos she had created. At that moment, something in me changed. I felt a strong resolve build up, making me firm against the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. I was done being her victim. Get out, I said firmly, my voice calm but intense. And don't come back until you can behave like a decent person. Emma looked surprised at my strong reaction, but then sneered and came closer, her breath warm on my face. You'll regret this, Helen. I promise you that. With those final words, she stormed out, leaving a heavy silence behind her. Walter watched her leave, his face showing both shock and sadness. I'm sorry, Helen. I don't know what's gotten into her, he said tiredly. But I understood now, this wasn't a sudden change. It was the result of long-held bitterness and manipulation, driven by Julie's harmful influence. As I thought about Emma's threats, a firm resolve formed within me. She thought she could destroy my life whenever she wanted with her venomous lies. She was very wrong. If it was a fight she wanted, then I was ready to fight back, and this time I wouldn't play by her rules. Her threats kept replaying in my mind, fueling my determination to show everyone her true character before it was too late. I knew I couldn't count on Walter. His love for his daughter blinded him to the person she had become. I had to act on my own to protect myself and our family. That's when Roger came into the picture. He'd dated Emma a few years ago, before her behavior turned so manipulative and selfish. A chance meeting at the grocery store led to a conversation, and soon things started to make sense. Roger helped me see that Emma was not who I thought she was. Sean shared with me, looking very sorry, "She lied about you and Walter. All of it was lies." I felt a chill as he described how Emma had portrayed me as a controlling stepmom trying to push my way into their close family, and how she made Walter out to be a harsh tyrant. I believed everything she said, Sean admitted, embarrassed. She seemed so believable, full of anger. It wasn't until we split up that I started to see the truth. As he talked, a clearer image of Emma's harmful behavior appeared. She had spun a web of lies for years to turn everyone against me, influenced heavily by her mom, Julie, who was like a master at controlling her. From the start, she's been filling Emma's head with twisted thoughts about you trying to take her mom's place, Sean told me, which made me feel sick as everything started to make sense. All this time, I was the target of their mean plan, painted as the bad guy in their story. But Sean had more to say. He explained that Emma's upcoming wedding was just a cold-hearted plan to get more money and status. "She doesn't love Jason," he said dismissively. "She's just using him to get the lifestyle she wants. Once she's done with him, she'll move on to the next guy." Hearing this confirmed my doubts about Emma's shallow feelings, but it was still hard to accept. After talking with Sean, my head was spinning with all he had told me. For too long, I had let Emma and Julie control the story. Now, with the truth on my side, I was ready to confront them, to break apart their fake story, and show everyone what was really going on. No more being the victim, no more being scared of their threats and lies. It was time to fight back. The day of Emma's wedding was sunny, but inside the church, the air was tense. As I watched her get ready, admiring herself in the mirror, a firm resolve grew in me. Today, the truth would come out. Julie, fixing Emma's veil, cooed, "You look beautiful, sweetheart, just like a princess on her special day." Emma smiled, soaking up her mother's compliments. Seeing this, my stomach turned. Yes, it was like a real-life fairy tale, but I knew the truth behind the facade. I couldn't help but make a sarcastic comment, complete with a handsome prince and a wicked stepmother. Julie glared at me, but Emma just laughed, not seeming to care about the meaning behind my words. "Speaking of wicked stepmothers," she said coldly, "I'm surprised you even showed up, Helen, after how you've treated me. I half expected you to boycott the whole thing." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, believe me, I thought about it, but I wouldn't miss this for the world." Before she could say anything else, Walter appeared with a forced smile. "Everything okay in here?" he asked. "Just peachy, Dad," Emma replied sweetly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Helen and I were just having a little heart-to-heart." Walter looked like he wanted to ignore the tension. "Well, it's almost time. You ready, kiddo?" Emma nodded, suddenly looking excited to walk down the aisle. As the ceremony began and the music played, I took a deep breath, preparing myself. The ceremony went by quickly, with empty vows and fake smiles. But as Jason and Emma were about to kiss, I knew I had to speak up. "Stop!" I shouted, my voice echoing in the quiet church. Everyone gasped and looked at me. Emma's face twisted in anger, her fists clenched. "What is the meaning of this?" she hissed, her voice shaking with rage. Taking another deep breath, I looked at her firmly. "The meaning, Emma, is that I can't just watch you lie and manipulate everyone anymore." Julie's face went white as she realized what was happening. Before she could say anything, I continued, pulling out strong evidence that Sean had given me. This included texts, emails, and recordings that exposed Emma's deceit. For years, you've lied and turned everyone against me while acting like the victim, I announced confidently. Not anymore. It's time for everyone to know the truth. As I showed everyone the proof of her dishonesty and selfish plans, the room went silent. Emma's composure broke, and her face twisted into an angry snarl. "You liar," she shouted, lunging at me. "How dare you ruin my special day?" But it was too late. The truth was out there for everyone to see. Jason's family looked shocked and disgusted. The crowd's reactions showed that Emma's carefully built facade was collapsing. Standing there, alone and exposed, she seemed like a shadow of the person she used to be. I felt a mix of pity and triumph. The battle was over, and I had won by revealing the harsh truth that had been hidden for too long. The impact of my revelation was like an explosion, breaking apart the illusions we had all lived with. As the quiet turned to noise from the shocked crowd, I prepared myself for the confrontation. "How could you?" Emma yelled, anger written all over her face. "This was supposed to be my perfect day." "Your perfect day was built on lies," I replied calmly, despite the emotional turmoil inside. "Did you really think you could keep deceiving everyone forever?" She tried to answer, but stopped when Jason stepped forward, his face full of disbelief and heartbreak. "Is it true?" he asked desperately, hoping she would deny everything. "Were you just using me this whole time?" For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Then she smirked, her cold, calculating gaze returning. "Of course not, baby," she said, reaching out to touch his cheek. "You know how much I love you. Helen is just trying to cause trouble like she always does." Emma's words made me clench my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. I wanted to wipe that fake look of innocence off her face. Didn't she realize it was all over? Apparently not, as she turned her angry look back to me. "This is all your fault," she hissed. "If you had just left things alone, none of this would be happening." Suddenly, a loud voice interrupted us. I turned to see Walter, his face red with anger and embarrassment. "I can't believe what I'm hearing," he said, shaking his head slowly. "My own daughter, lying and using everyone for her own selfish needs." Emma tried to say something, but no words came out. For once, she was speechless, shocked by her father's disappointment. "I don't know you anymore," Walter continued, his voice full of sadness. "The sweet, loving girl I raised, she's gone, isn't she?" The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the weight of his words. Emma and Julie, her mother, locked eyes, silently challenging each other. Finally, Julie spoke harshly. "Well," she demanded, staring hard at her daughter, "aren't you going to defend yourself?" But Emma just stood there, defeated, looking smaller and more defeated than ever. With a disgusted snort, Julie stormed out, followed by Jason's family, their faces showing everything from pity to disgust. And just like that, it was over. The grand event Emma had carefully planned lay in ruins, her dreams shattered. As Jason left the church, his face filled with pain, I felt a bit sorry for him. He was just another pawn in Emma's game, used and discarded at her whim. But that feeling was quickly replaced by a grim satisfaction. The truth was out, and there would be no more lies, no more games. Emma would now taste the bitter results of her actions. In the days following the ruined wedding, chaos ensued as news of Emma's lies spread. She became an outcast in the community she had once hoped to rule. I'll never forget Emma's face when she showed up at her mother Julie's doorstep, desperately looking for help. "Please, Mom," she begged, her voice full of tears she was trying to hold back. "You have to help me. I have nowhere else to go." But Julie just looked at her with disgust and a bit of pity, her lips twisting into a sneer. "Help you," she scoffed, her laugh bitter. "After the mess you made in public, embarrassing yourself and our family." Emma stepped back, shocked. "But you're my mother. You're supposed to support me no matter what." "There are no sides anymore," Julie replied slowly, shaking her head. You've destroyed all your relationships, pushed away everyone who cared about you with your endless greed and lies." Her harsh words cut deep, each one like a sharp blade. I could see the moment Emma realized the truth, felt the full weight of her loneliness. "You can't mean that," she whispered, reaching out a shaky hand. "Mom, please." But Julie stepped back, her face cold and unfeeling. "I don't know who you are anymore," she said flatly. "The daughter I raised would never sink so low. You've made your bed, Emma. Now you can lie in it alone." With those final harsh words, she turned and went back inside, leaving Emma alone on the doorstep, broken. In the weeks that followed, I watched as Emma, once proud and entitled, was worn down by the consequences of her actions. The trendy bars and fancy stores she used to visit now looked at her with barely hidden contempt, whispers and stares following her. Even her so-called friends deserted her, not wanting to be linked with such a public disgrace. Through it all, Walter and I stood firm, our relationship strengthened in the ordeal of her betrayal. "I'm sorry it came to this," Walter said one evening as we watched Emma pass by, her head down in shame. "But you were right all along." I didn't say anything, just squeezed his hand. Words felt too small in the face of such a harsh reality. As things settled and our community began to recover from the shock of Emma's lies, Walter and I received a lot of support and thanks. We had helped many families and students, and now they showed their gratitude. Everyone we had helped rallied around us, thanking us for standing up to the manipulation and deceit that had almost broken us apart. In those moments of connection, seeing the true depth of human kindness and resilience, I found peace and purpose that I had missed during the worst days of Emma's destructive actions. She had tried to break me down, to make me just a small part of her own big story, but in the end, her own selfishness was her downfall. It stripped away her masks and lies, showing her true empty self. As for me and Walter, we came out of this stronger and wiser. If our experience can inspire others to stand strong against manipulation and deceit, and to value honesty and integrity above all, then maybe some good can still come from the ruins of Emma's shattered dreams.